here in New York City. Chael Sonnen picked up his first Bellator win at Madison Square Garden, of all places. He defeated Wanderlei Silva, and he dropped a little nugget, a little tease in our post-fight interview. Ever since then, I've been bothering him to come on the show. He has finally squeezed us in. He is joining us right now via the magic of Skype. There he is. Chael P., how are you?
Never better. How are you? That's what matters.
Well, I'm good. Thank you. You know, I kind of planned this.
How's your love fest there? How was your love fest with Justin's debut? Oh, Justin, you're the power, Justin Gaethje. I love you.
Why? Why do you got to hate?
Yeah. Hey, he had a good performance, Ariel. I was very impressed as well, but that was sickening watching you just grape out all over him.
Went better.
Justin.
Dare I say it went better than your debut in Bellator?
You never seen anyone punch another man before? Really, was it all that? Really?
Come on. You don't think that was...
Yes, I was impressed. Now I'm actually annoyed with it. I came on your show to put him over, but I mean, what did he do that allured you so much? He kicked somebody? Have you not seen that before?
He withstood the punishment. He kept going forward. He suffocated his opponent. He backed it up under the lights for the first time. There's something to be said for that. And let's be honest, the bar has been set pretty low for 2017. We haven't had a lot of good fights. I mean, who could forget you versus Tito, right?
I suppose you actually have hoisted me with my own baton on that one. It has been a weird year, man. It was a weird week. What about this last week with what happened with Amanda? I mean, all the conflicts that week had as a whole, you know, the George Bisping, it doesn't come through. John Jones in D.C. missed by 4 days was the rumor. And then ultimately Amanda pulls out the day of. I think you make a fair point about 2017. It has been a little weird.
You are the ultimate promoter. Can I ask you this? Even I wasn't going to start with this, but since you brought it up, I thought it was strange the way Dana White came out and was like, look, she didn't want to fight. She was cleared she didn't want to fight. As a promoter, isn't that an opportunity to say, look, shit happens, but she'll be back. She's tough. Now you've kind of thrown her under the bus a bit, and I think her allure as this killer goes away.
I don't know, man. I mean, that's got to be a frustrating spot. The show must go on. Ariel, I can't remember a time, maybe it happened or didn't, but I can't remember where somebody weighed in and then, didn't pulled up for the match. And I don't know. It's just a tough spot. If she says she can't fight, you never want to kick anyone while they're down. If she's sick or hurt or whatever the case was, you just want to wish somebody well. But, man, that's got to be frustrating. If somebody gets checked out by a doctor, they said they do it. It's the main event, and they decide not to. I don't know where I weigh in on that.
Chael, lest we forget.
I would not smooth the whole thing over, though. No, I would be a little bit pissed off. Aaron, I've always thought, I realize my idea would not work. However, I still share the ideology that we should have a forfeit clause. And there's got to be some time period, but particularly from the weigh-in to the ring, in any other sport, you lose, and you lose by forfeit. This would never happen in a Super Bowl or an NBA. It does happen in sport. It happens in boxing dual meets and in wrestling dual meets. If anything happens and one athlete doesn't step on the mat after the weigh-in, they lose by forfeit. And there should be some kind of a clause in there, man. I'm not thrilled about it. I'll tell you the truth.
I actually think that's a great idea, and I feel like Shevchenko should earn her show and win money because she was ready to go, right? I mean, she didn't back out. She was ready to fight. But let me ask you about this. Lest we forget about February. Matt Mitrione weighed in, pulled out 2 hours before the fight, right? I mean, it happens. But he wasn't thrown under the bus.
Yeah, well, don't forget, that was a little different example, fair example by you, but to remind you, it was a little bit different because Mitrione really wanted to fight. It was actually the doctors that were saying, look, you can't remember the kidney stone issue? And that was so misreported. People think Mitrione pulled out, and then some people think doctors stepped in and pulled him. The final analysis came from Coker himself that said, no more, we're moving on, and I'm pulling this one. So that was a little different scenario than somebody that weighed in and then just out of nowhere says, hey, I'm not feeling so hot. I don't want to say that condescendingly in case she's sick or hurt. I just want to maintain this point. That should have been a forfeit. This entire sport, Ariel, is about finding out who is tougher at a specific time and place. And if you're an athlete that goes, admittedly, I'm not even tough enough to try, then you cannot be called the champion. I see guys pull out all the time. They should lose their rankings. Tough guy, Cain Velasquez. I think the world of Cain Velasquez, but he's pulled out of so many fights, If I'm a media member that gets to put rankings, I pull his ass out. If Kane comes forward and goes, I'm not even tough enough to leave the locker room, then how can people like you, Ariel, go, oh, this guy's number 3 in the world? He just told you he's not even tough enough to leave the locker room. And the whole sport is about who's tougher at a specific time and place. We should have a new champion.
Fair. I'd like to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's easier for you to say you're a fellow fighter. For me, someone's sick, shit happens. She doesn't have a history of doing this. I think she's earned a little more respect. But let me ask you about this, because one of the reasons why I wanted to have you today, I knew this in the back of my mind.
Hold on.
Okay.
I don't like the premise of your tone, because you're making it as though I'm the one putting her down, and here you are, the white knuckle.
Yes.
I'm not kicking her while she's down. I'm speaking specifically to a brand new clause. If she said she's tougher than a girl under a specific skill set at a specific time in a specific place, she then doesn't show up, she loses by forfeit. That's the way it works under the NCAA, under the International Olympic Committee. That's the way it works on the playground. If you agree to show up at 3 o'clock behind the bell and you don't make it, the other kid wins. So you can talk about she deserves respect.
Okay.
I'm not disrespecting her. I'm saying she loses the belt. You don't get to just go sit on a belt and go, I didn't feel good. That's what this is about, Ariel. Who feels good?
Okay, so then let me counter with this. The fall from championship money to just contender run-of-the-mill money is so great. People aren't paid like you are. She's certainly not. That you can't afford to go in there if you're not feeling well. And if there is no forfeit clause, it's actually in your best interest from a business standpoint to say thanks but no thanks, right? If she loses that fight feeling like crap, she's going back to making 25 and 25. Maybe if there was a little more, of an even pay scale, then she could go out and roll the dice.
Okay, listen, I don't want to keep this on her because, again, it sounds as though I'm attacking her. I think you and I are on the same page of wishing her well and wanting what's best. But if you do want to capitalize this whole thing and make it about monetary, what about all those fans that flew out there? They spent collectively far more than 25 and 25. What about the promoters and the media members? What about everybody that's behind this? Everybody's going to lose. That's the reality of it. This isn't some big knock on her. I can't make that any clearer. But there should be a forfeit clause.
Fair.
Because you're still hanging your argument on defending her. Well, what about Shevchenko that did everything right? What about Shevchenko was there to reach her goals and her dreams? Ariel, this sport is about who's tougher than who. And if one of them can't leave the locker room, then we've answered the question.
Fair. Last thing I'll say about this is they still have to promote her as champion because they did not strip her. So the idea that you're going to say to the world that she was not, mentally fit to fight, to me will only bite you in the ass business-wise because you have to promote her in 2 months. Anyway, let's leave it at that because I want to talk to you.
Who cares, man? I'm sick of seeing all these fighters are pat on the back and let's go promote them. Sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes you just got to tell the truth and go, look, we all got burned on this. I don't know what in the hell happened, and I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Moments ago on the second biggest MMA podcast, the MMA Hour, of course, behind You're Welcome, Gegard Mousasi announced that he has signed with Bellator. What is your immediate reaction to this breaking news?
That surprised me. That really surprised. Don't forget. So he came off. He's got a great relationship with Coker, but it was you. It was you that interviewed him before his Chris Weidman fight, and you kind of asked him, "Hey, when this is up, are you going to go test the market?" And I remember how he answered you. I thought it was pretty cool. He said, "No, this is where I want to be. I'm not happy with my contract, but I'm not trying to do a media play here. But I want to get something new worked out." And I really thought that was pretty sincere. And I think it was at the time he answered you. Something changed. I had no word of this. I don't know if you do. I had absolutely no word of it. I was surprised. Pretty cool. Pretty cool all the way around for Bellator. But I will tell you, I thought he would re-sign and maybe we'd see the Weidman rematch again. I guess that's where my head was at with Mousasi.
This is a massive coup, though, for Bellator, right? A guy on a 5-fight winning streak, maybe one win at worst away from a title shot. I think you can make a case that this is one of the more impressive signings that they've had over the past year and a half.
Do you remember that time Justin Gaethje kicked a guy in a fight, and then he punched him too with his hand?
It was fun. It was
with his hand. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
What about the signing of Mousasi? It's a big deal. Hey, Ariel, let's put on our detective hats real fast with the clues that we have. So, Bellator's not thrilled with their middleweight division.
Huh.
They're not thrilled that, it could use a little bit of spicing up. And Mousasi's last fights have been at middleweight. So I think that politically there could be some reason to keep him at middleweight and see if you could put a new face on that poster. But as good as he is and as big of a draw as he is, the bigger fights collectively are at 205. So I don't know what they're going to do with him. Then, again, to use the clues we have, Mousasi just sent out a tweet. I just read it and retweeted it. But he said middleweight, specifically middleweights. Mm-hmm. There's a new sheriff in town. So I think he might be looking to go right into middleweight and, see what he can do there with the belt. Kind of similar to what Bader did with Phil.
Is there any interest on your part in fighting Gegard Mousasi?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for a match, actually. I'm looking for a match right now. So I think if I was to guess, I think that Mousasi is probably on more of a title run for middleweight than I am. That ultimately is the weight class I would like to end up in. But there's a few moving parts at 205. I don't know if that's going to happen right away. We'll see what happens there. I kind of think he's going to go middleweight, but I'm also basing that on the tweet he just put out.
Yeah. Also, lest we forget that the middleweight champion.
Do you think when he gets in there, he might do anything just wild and crazy, like punch somebody or throw a kick to the leg? I mean, like some earth-shattering MMA Hour news.
Carvalho is actually scheduled to fight Alessio Sakara for the belt, so he would have to wait for that to be done. So maybe he does squeeze one in beforehand. You knew this already. You keep up with all the Bellator news. I know that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you reminding me of that. I like that fight. Speaking of that fight, well, let's just see what happens with Mousasi. I think he's got a little more power than you might think. Sure. I think they like him over there. I think they're excited to have him. So I think he might kind of have his choice of divisions, but I don't know. You put him at 185, you build that division a little bit. I don't know. There could be some good business reasons. It could make sense, I guess, to do that with him. Let's see what happens.
Can I ask you a serious question, Chael? I know you want to be friends with everyone. I know you have relationships in the UFC, but honestly, candidly, has the UFC lost its way? I was at International Fight Week, and it lacked the buzz. You fought 148. It was huge. Expo, no Expo now. It just feels like something, and Mousasi said it himself, I'm not sure if the new owners know what they're doing. From your position, has the UFC lost its way? Has it lost its soul?
I strike you as a guy that wants to get along with everybody. I heard you slip that in. That might catch most people by surprise. I thought I was known as a little more contentious than that. But
when it comes to Dana White and the UFC, you want to keep that relationship.
Ariel. Here's my relationship. I'm purely a fan now. I don't go to the events except maybe once a year. ESPN will do what's called an on-site. We're actually in the arena. So just as an outsider that's watching, I've had some fun as a fan. I really think they put on some good matches. So I don't know if I'm totally seeing it. I thought the promo for DC and John Jones was differently and more artistic than anything. I didn't grape out over that thing like everyone else did, but I did acknowledge that it was different from an artistic standpoint in a positive way. So I don't know. I don't know that I could feel that. I feel as though fighting as a whole is really strong right now. But I watch it all. I watched Lesnar wrestle last night. I watched Gaethje. I'm giving you a hard time about Gaethje, man. That was awesome what he did. And Michael Johnson's so good. You got Bellator coming up with Joe Warren, but then we got the big Moxley match with Mayweather and McGregor, man. I'm a fan of it all. So I don't know if I see that. What do you think? Do you think that they're slipping? And if you say yes, what are you basing it on? I mean, it seems like the numbers are still up, right?
Well, no, I'm basing it on actual tangible experiences. I was there. There was no Expo. There was very little buzz. The Ultimate Fighter finale on Friday, not many tickets sold. It was not even close to full. They had to block off the entire upper section. It just now 214 is phenomenal, and I agree. I mean, I think the promo was the best one in UFC history only because it was honest. It actually told the story of John Jones as opposed to trying to sugarcoat it. Maybe they'll turn things around, but to let these guys go, to me, it's like do we not understand that you need Mousasi's in your organization? Like, these are important players. They may not be $1 million pay-per-view buy guys, But this is unprecedented. The UFC doesn't let these guys go historically. Why is that? We don't know. The new owners don't talk to us. But I do think that it's an interesting thing. Now, let me ask you about this, Chael. I've been dying to ask you for the last 3 weeks this. You told me at some point you and Rory McDonald are going to fight. You told me you would come on my show and tell me the story. Here you are on my show. I need to know the story. I actually reached out to Rory and he said, well, Chael brought it up first. I'll let him tell the story. The floor is yours. Please tell us the story.
Listen. Yeah, look, I can't create something out of nothing here. There's nothing where your fans are going to get enticed by this. This is just simple man code, okay? So I like Rory a lot. I always have. I admire him, all that nice stuff, but it really is true. And I'd signed with Bellator in like November, and Rory had signed somewhere around February. So I was there first, but only by a couple of months. I'm at an event. It was going to be the Fedor Mitrione, and Rory had just signed on like Tuesday, and today's Friday. And so I end up in an elevator with him, and he's eating an apple, which becomes relevant in the story later. So we're in the elevator, and we're headed down, and I just said, hey, congrats, and who are you looking to fight? And he says, maybe Paul Daly. And then he says, maybe Josh Koscheck. And then he takes a bite of his apple and he looks up and he goes, maybe you. And right as he said it, the doors open and we exit. And I just wished him well, and that was the end of it and went my way. But he knows we have to fight. That was a challenge. There's no way around it. I can't act like that didn't happen.
Wow.
That happened.
I can actually see him doing it exactly that way.
Pretty simple story. I told you it was a pretty simple story. I can't go build an event around this. But Ariel, any guy listening to this particular fight knows now I have to fight him. I don't have a choice.
Have you expressed this to Bellator? Are they on board with this idea?
No, I guess we just did it right now. No, I mean, Rory's got a different path. Like, sure. Nothing is really built for speed right now in MMA, but Rory's going to go, as I understand it, for a championship fight with Douglas. I think that's done. I think all they need is a date at this point. And then Rory was talking about going up to 185. Well, now you insert Mousasi. So maybe Mousasi takes some of my thunder away from the Rory fight. Maybe you get a fight there. Maybe you don't at all. Maybe you keep guys in their division. I'm just saying there's a lot of opportunity, and particularly with Bellator, historically they are more in line with kind of shuffling some guys around and not necessarily keeping you in a division and just kind of letting you go out and do the fight that you want. So there could be some chance there. You might see Rory and Mousasi before you saw Rory and I, or me and Mousasi. I don't really know what's next for who.
Is there anyone on your radar right now? Anyone that you have an inkling? Okay, maybe this is the direction that they're going to go in with me?
Yeah, well, again, so I don't come to you with any behind the scenes news, but I do think that there's some legs to this whole Chuck Liddell coming back routine. And, he's even been spotted in a few gyms. I saw some video come out. He was in Glazer's gym, and then he's either in Holland or Thailand, recently. I happen to believe that that's going to be true. And I believe if Chuck comes back, it'll be Chuck and I. So I'm kind of holding out to see what happens there. But, sooner or later, the way this works, Ariel, I can come on these shows and tell you all these great ideas I want. Eventually, I get a phone call or a text message, and they say it's this guy on this date, and I write back, okay.
But you would like the Chuck idea if they presented it to you?
Yeah, I would like the Chuck idea, and I would hate for Chuck to come back and not have myself aligned to take on that match. I think that there's something there, and I resent all those older guys. I really do. I can't let it go, but it just took me so long to break into this business. I was in my 30s by then. I could have kicked all these guys' asses, and I can say that over and over, but unless you put me in there and let me show it, it's kind of just words. So even if I can go back and rectify, I'm sure many people would like to go back into high school and some kid that got over on them. Well, these guys all got over on me because I never had my chance. And I resent it, man. I resent it. I lost about 10 years of my career just because I couldn't get an opportunity. And so, yeah, I would want the Chuck fight.
Wow. That is interesting. What is your level of interest in the Mayweather?
Now, if he was to do something crazy, like, say, kick me, would you have him on your show? Would you, grape out on him?
No. I mean,
really?
Who's Chuck Liddell?
Because now you've seen it. Now that Gage kicked somebody, now you've seen that. It just kind of loses its allure.
I already saw the movie. Yeah, I need to see something different.
And what if he pressured forward. I mean, would that amaze you?
What is what is your level of interest in Mayweather McGregor?
100%. 100%, Eric. I don't get why other people aren't excited about this. I don't understand it at all. I talked to Michael Chiesa about it, and he said he called it the sporting event of our lifetime. And in some ways, it could be, it's a spectacle. It's all these things, but I am totally interested in what's going to happen. And some people that say it's going to be over quick, my God, I hope they're right. The only bad thing about boxing is it's so goddamn long. Why would I want to ever watch anybody do anything for 12 rounds? Boxing has killed its own sport and still doesn't understand that if you just made it shorter, a lot more people would care. We don't want to watch you box, dance, or do anything else for 12 goddamn rounds. So the quicker, the better.
Can I throw out a theory your way, and you're the perfect person to talk about this with? I feel like the fight starts tomorrow. I feel like Floyd has never done a press conference with someone like Conor, and with this news about Floyd's taxes coming out and all this stuff, I truly feel Conor is going to look at what he did to Aldo, and the fight is going to start tomorrow. This is his chance this week, 4 stops, to really mess with his head. Are you expecting that from Conor? Would you go the same route as him? Would you try to start winning the fight from now?
Yeah, well, and you are right. You know what? You went somewhere else with that. You were talking about getting in his head. I didn't know that was going to be your point. I thought what you were going to say is the fight starts tomorrow because, Ariel, these guys are absolutely graded and judged on who can get more headlines. When they go head-to-head, and Floyd's used to being boisterous and doing crazy stuff, if he gets beaten at any of these press conferences, that's a point for Conor. Because, they're going to raise somebody's hand on August 26th, but on August 27th, those guys are still going to need to make a living. And there's ways to parlay things that start tomorrow and culminate on the 26th to prepare you for August 27th and beyond. And Conor understands that side of the business. I don't know if Floyd does or not. We're going to find out. But in that regard, the fight does start tomorrow.
And do you think that he actually can get under his skin? Like, is this... I actually feel like this is part of the game plan. I actually feel like he needs to try to mess with him because Pacquiao, Cotto, these guys don't know how to do that. Conor is the best at that. He has to go as personal as possible. Do you agree?
I don't, only because I don't think there's a way to get under a guy's skin. I know from the outsiders that's been talked about forever, the same as a youth advantage and a size advantage. They're not advantages. It's not a reach advantage. They're not advantages, but people don't understand that. And those terms have been around for so long, we're never going to convince people of otherwise. So I believe it will appear Conor's to get under his skin. All Conor's trying to do is get under our skin. He's trying to get our attention, and people never understand that. They think one fighter is going after this fighter. I could give a damn less what that fighter thinks, but I want you, the listener, to hear something you're going to remember, and Conor is smart enough to understand that. But that's the reality. I could play along and go, it's going to be an emotional Floyd Mayweather because this was said about him. Man, it just doesn't work that way. That's just stuff we say to get headlines. It's not true.
What kind of a chance do you give Conor in this fight? Do you think he actually has a chance?
Oh, my God. Ariel, are you kidding me? None. Zero. Do you not understand what's on the line here? Because nobody seems to want to tell this. And I listened to the press conference, where they had the Showtime guy and they had Floyd's representative and they had Dana on there. And they all wanted to be real careful to say this isn't MMA against boxing. And I have no idea why they would be so dishonest. This is boxing against boxing. Ariel, you have the greatest boxer of all time, according to boxers. That's who them as a community has put forward as their greatest ever. He's never lost at professional boxing. Take it on a guy who's never done professional boxing. If this thing ends anyway, but quickly and decisively for Floyd, the entire integrity of boxing is on the line. I'm an amateur wrestler. I was an amateur boxer too. I love boxing, but I'm cognizant enough to tell you from my wrestling days, if you can bring in an athlete, and Ariel, I don't give a damn how good he was or successful he was in his field, and you put him against our best wrestler, there is no possible chance that goes 30 seconds. And I'm only saying 30 seconds in case the wrestler wants to stop and tie his shoes. That match is over. Now you've got people from the boxing world saying Conor can win. You've got other people speculating it's going to go 12 rounds. My God, the entire integrity of a fringe sport. Don't forget, there's not a high school in this country that recognizes boxing as a real sport. The NCAA will not contest it. People think that's because it's dangerous. They're wrong. The NCAA doesn't believe it's a sport. The only body with any kind of integrity that still recognizes and contests it is the International Olympic Committee. And then you've got all these different commissions. This is the entire integrity of a sport versus Conor McGregor. That's the truth. As much as people like De La Hoya want to try to smooth this over, man, it's not smooth. You're taking a lot of risk.
So with that in mind, all the pressure's on Floyd, right? Like the whole world is telling him, you're going to smoke him, you're going to smoke him. If he doesn't smoke him, he comes out, even if he gets the win, but it's a close fight, he comes out kind of looking like the loser, right?
Oh, of course. And Ariel, the biggest talking, yeah, absolutely. There's no other way to say it than the way I just said it to you right now. There's no other way. However, a lot of people don't know what boxing is. I mean, most people don't actually respect boxing. It just kind of looks like two guys punching at one another. And that's okay, but they just don't. And I think the bigger commentary has been how many people, particularly here in North America, discount boxing. They just don't appreciate that. I think footwork's real. Maybe it's not. I think combinations are real. Maybe it's not. I think experience and I think speed and I believe these things are true. I hold them. I cling to those things like I used to do Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, but at some point something else gets revealed to you. I don't want to have that experience as a fan on August 26th. I want boxing to be real because I believed it my entire life. It will devastate me. But now I'm hearing people from the boxing community saying that not only can Conor beat him, not only can Conor go the distance, but that he could beat him. And I'm going, wow, I didn't know people disrespected the sport so much. I had no idea.
Do we have a couple more minutes?
Are you talking to me? We got time for me unless you need to get Gaethje back on to talk about his forward pressure that you love so much.
When you got back home to West Lynn, you played it up well at the press conference, but were you relieved that the Wanderlei thing was over and that you beat him on this big stage? Like, did a part of you feel like, okay, thank God I can move on. I got the better of the guy and I can go focus on something else. Was there any part of you that felt that way?
Any part, man. That's the entire part. For every fight, not just Wanderlei. For every fight, I come out and I'm almost never happy to win as much as, to use your word, it's just a relief. You know, sometimes you're relieved it's over, or sometimes you're glad you didn't blow it. In the Wanderlei fight, he had knocked me down. I'd never been knocked down before. And it's like, well, I could have just stayed down. There's things you could have done, but I like the word you used. You're relieved that you didn't do them and it's all over and it went your way. Yeah, that's fair.
Any word on the pay-per-view buys?
No, I didn't get any word on that, and I don't know when that comes in. I've never asked. I guess it's been a couple of weeks. We should know pretty soon here. They had the spike numbers came in, which I trust you did see, which was 900 and change. So it was a good night, but no, man, I haven't heard yet.
What do you think it does? What's your prediction?
Well, so I'll base my prediction off of what Scott Coker had said. Scott Coker had told, might have been you, might have been Luke Thomas. He had told someone that they were hoping for, I think, 220 to 250 was their number, and then anything above that they would consider great. I'm going to trust his numbers. I think that he might be happily surprised, but I got to trust his analysis. I think in that 200 to 300 range is fair.
Are you working the Bellator show this weekend?
No, I'm going to be watching at home, but I won't be there. How about you?
Why? Why aren't you going to be there? You're a huge part of the broadcast team.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I love to be there. I think this one actually got scheduled. I had nothing to do with it. It got scheduled. I wasn't even invited. I trust that was because I did just have the match, and I guess some guys need more time off than others. So I didn't take it personal, but I won't be there. Do you think they'll be punching and kicking and forward pressure? What
about your friend and the guy? I mean, you put him on the map, Kelvin Gastelum. Does he beat Weidman next weekend?
Stud, total. I am really interested in that fight. I mean, of course, I'm going to go with Kelvin, but I'm not ready to write Chris Weidman off yet. He's lost 3 in a row, but you could look a little closer at those fights. Nobody's really getting over on Romero. The Mousasi fight was bizarre. We could agree. I mean, I think there's a little more to it. I'm not ready to write off Chris, but boy, Kelvin, there's something about putting him in that cage and saying, go, man. When the referee asks him if he's ready and he says yes, he means it.
Just needs to stay off the wacky tobacco, right?
Yeah, poor guy, but he served his time. Young man, I'm ready to give him a second chance. I hope you are too.
Did Michael Bisping cross the line when he ripped the Cuban flag? And can we just talk about, did you see Romero's response? Have you seen this?
When he burned Bisping's picture?
This is straight out of 1980s pro wrestling. He's smoking the cigar. He's got the Cuban liquor. This is tremendous.
Okay, so I agree with you. I thought it was pretty cool that he had that liquor and brought the cigar out as well. It was even cooler that he didn't light the cigar because now it's family friendly. But I did see that, Ariel. However, I assumed I was seeing it out of order. I was assumed that Romero struck first and then Bisping did that, and I just saw it out of order. I didn't know that Romero had done that since his fight today. So I don't know if he crossed a line or not. Here was the one thing. I think Bisping's a lot of fun. I like the stuff he does. When a guy's in the ring fighting, leave him alone. I really think you should. I just had Tito heckling me at my last fight, and I kind of looked over his hat and I thought, well, Tito, I kind of got my hands full. That I don't know that now's the time. So I don't know if there's any rule against it either. But for me, I kind of thought, give him his space just for a minute here. He's kind of got some stuff in front of him he needs to deal with.
Okay, fair enough. Do you like Robert Whittaker?
With all the punching, the kicking, the forward pressure that happens.
Are you impressed with Whittaker?
Yeah, very impressed. I've been impressed with Whittaker for a while. I'm a big fan of The Ultimate Fighter. Whoever comes through that, it's such a hard tournament. And I was very impressed with him for a while, but he's got some other good wins in there. He's fought some other tough names, and it wasn't just Jacare. Jacare is just the one that made us all go, oh my goodness. I thought you were really good. I didn't know you were great. Now I understand you're great. But yeah, he's the champ right now, and I don't even know who do you think would be the favorite in him versus Bisping? I mean, you got two. What do you mean? Am I impressed with the guy? Yeah, hell yeah, I'm impressed. He's a champion.
I think he's a slight favorite. Let me ask you this. Do you think DC can beat John?
I think it's pretty unlikely, because they already fought once. It wasn't that competitive. Now, according to DC, it was. According to DC, he was winning that fight. And sometimes you scratch your head and go, Daniel, I don't know who told you that, but I thought it was 5-0 John Jones, and I thought they were very good and fun and two guys trying rounds. But I did think it was 5-0 John Jones. The final analysis of the professional judges, it was 4-1 John Jones. We then learned that John was high on coke and still kicked his ass. I mean, that does matter. That's not just something funny to say. But it's DC. He's a winner. He's going to go out. He's going to compete hard. I just don't know. I don't know that he's gotten better since that fight. I don't know that John's gotten better, but I know the human body does get better when you're John's age just naturally, and the human body doesn't get better when you're DC's age just naturally. So it's very hard for me to see where that gap would get closed, let alone surpassed in this match. It's just hard for me to see. But I'll tell you, I'm pumped for it. I'm so excited for that. That's right there, 2017 with the McGregor and the Mayweather fight. Right now, I really think that's a fun match. I love those guys' heat. It's real. It's not going to go away. It's not going to shake hands, and let's forget it after this match. And for me as a fan, I'm compelled to that.
Last quick thing. I know you're very busy, but did you have a chance on Friday night to see the Justin Gaethje Michael Johnson fight? I mean, this was unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, what a performance, right? Heart, determination, endurance.
Forward pressure. Ariel, I really wanted you to ask me about that fight because I was so impressed with Gaethje. I was so impressed with his debut, dealing with the pressure. And if you looked at his attitude before this fight, we've seen guys come in with that same attitude, and it doesn't end well. Well, with him, it did. That guy is just so tough. He pushes so hard. It doesn't matter how tired he is. And I got to follow him in the World Series, so I knew him a little bit better than maybe most would. And he was just so doggone tough. And, he's a college All-American for UNC. I got to follow his career there. So I felt like I knew him a little bit better. I wanted to come on your show and say all of these great things. But then when I pop in and I'm in the queue and you're over there massaging his shoulders, and you're the next great thing. You had the line of the year, the promoter's wedding. By the way, Helwani, I've caught you with a couple of 4-letter words already today. When did you go to the dark side? I didn't know you started cursing on here.
Well, I mean, we're on Twitter now. We could do whatever we want. I don't know. We're live on Twitter. This is unprecedented for MMA.
Of course I'm on the show, dum-dum. I mean, my good friend. Of course I knew that.
Yeah, this is big.
What I'm saying is you can do whatever you want. I didn't know secretly you wanted to start cursing all. You're like, the pressures of the man holding me down are gone. I can say cocksucker now because I'm on Twitter. I didn't know that was something that you aspired to.
No. But I saw the success that Joel had on your show, and I thought maybe I need to emulate this. I mean, this is the clearly this is the path that I need to go down. The scumbag path.
The scumbag path. Yeah, I haven't heard from Joel in a while. Joel sent me a text message or an email after my fight. Everybody wants to be your friend after you have a fight, so I get an email from him, and I don't even read it. But the opening line was, congratulations on your fight, you cheating scumbag. And I was like, next. I got other things to do than listen to this. That's how we open. Congratulations, you cheating scumbag.
Wow.
Whatever came after that, I was gone.
Okay.
How do you like that?
I thought you were
How
friends.
do you like that? Day after your fight when you're on top of the world and that's what you wake up to from a supposed friend.
By the way, are you buds with Jesse Taylor from Team Quest? Were you there when he was there?
Yeah, I used to train with him. Train with him.
What a story, right? I mean, we can't pump that up too. That's a beautiful story.
Frankly, kind of surprised me.
Really?
Pretty cool. It was going to be cool for whoever that happened for. And I didn't really have I did think James Krause was the best fighter there. I mean, if I was to make a prediction, I thought that Gilbert Jamal was going to, Smith was going to go pretty far. I just thought it was pretty interesting. But Taylor kind of did surprise me because sometimes he has a hard time holding it together up here. He usually wins the first round or at least the first 3-4 minutes, but then sometimes he can get in his own way. And Lima's had that same problem. Sometimes he gets in his own way, and both of these guys held it together. They focused. They made it to the fight. I just thought it was a pretty cool story, Ariel. I don't really understand why the ratings of that I thought it was one of the better seasons, quite frankly. I think the people that missed it missed a really good season.
Been there, done that. It's the same old every time on that show. In 2012, Chael.
That's what people keep saying.
Yeah, but it's the same old. They're all wearing the same thing. It's the same formats.
Keep saying that it needs some rebranding, but Ariel, will you at least agree it is pretty cool right out of the gate to see guys you're familiar with, not have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to learn, who Juning Browning or who these guys are, but you come right out of the gate, you recognize everybody. I thought it was pretty cool, man. Joe Daddy came back. I mean, I don't know. For me, there was something there. I tuned in each week, but I was surprised that not many other people did.
Chael, in 2012, I became a father for the first time. I had Oliver, as you know. And you were hosting a show called UFC Tonight. Whatever happened to that show, by the way? Anyway, that's a different story for a different day. A nice moment on that show was when you guys said congratulations to me for being a dad for the first time. And the man behind that decision to put that picture on air, which I'll never forget, is our good friend Zeus. And did you know that Zeus became a dad 2 weeks ago? Did you know this?
I did not.
Oh, my God. You're supposed to be friends with the guy.
I text with him all the time. I'm going to send him a message right now. No, I even text him Turkish word. He's Turkish, and I spent some time in Istanbul, so I'll try off a merhaba here or there just to get a laugh at him. But I didn't know about the fatherhood, man. That's awesome.
Lucas is here. He's a dad now, so I wanted to return the favor with you. I thought it would be nice to give him a shout out and say Mazel Tov to him and his wife.
Very cool, man. I'm with you on that. And it's Lucas.
Lucas, that's right.
Lucas is his name. Cool. I'm going to get a hold of him right now.
Chael, pleasure as always.
What do we do here? What do we do? I mean, I kind of feel like this show's taken like a bit of a slow turn since all the Gaethje talk. And I mean, I'm glad we got the shout out for Zoo, but how do we spice things up? What do we do now?
We're actually going to talk to Valentina Shevchenko in a minute.
Oh, well, I can't be blamed for that. That's up to you. All right. To you and to everybody else, I've had it with you all. Kaboom.
There he is, Chael Sonnen. And nice we had the picture there waiting for him as well. All right. Thank you. That was very nicely done. Good job, Rob. He knows Chael's shtick that he's going to say goodbye, and there we had it. That's high production value from the MMA Hour team.